Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. So today we are going to start our second chapter of our NCRT series, that is Themes in Indian History Part 1. This is going to be the second chapter and this is class 12th NCRT Part 1. We have already discussed the chapter first, that was the Indus Valley civilization, and today we are going to start the theme second. Now the way of teaching would be similar to the previous video. We are going to just observe the changes and we will not just merely learn the facts. We will try to understand it. Okay, so just watch this video for 10 to 15 minutes. You will get to know how we are going to study history by a different approach. Now I will try to make this subject interesting for you all. Okay, now we have seen that the Indus Valley civilization declined by 1500 BCE. So after the Indus Valley civilization, which was also known as the first urban civilization, then came the time of the Vedic period. Now the Vedic period roughly extended from around 1500 BCE to 600 BCE, and it is also known as the Iron Age. Now, why it is known as the Iron Age, I have explained in the previous class. Now, after the Vedic period, then came the Mauryan period. Okay, from 400 BCE to 200 BCE. But there was a time in between which is known as Mahajanpad period, in which 16 Mahajanpads were popularly known. Now we are going to study it in a chronological manner. Just I am telling you the timeline. Okay, so a brief timeline I have told you about, which is going to help you in this chapter when we are going to study this. Okay, now 1500 years subcontinent, there is a long span of 1500 years following the end of Harappan civilization. It means that the civilization ended in 1500 BCE. Now this is extends from 600 BCE to 600 CE. So we are going to look that in some time. Okay, now the Vedic period, as we know, is also known as the Iron Age, as Rig Veda was composed by the people living along the Indus and its tributaries. Now I already told you the Indus Valley civilization was prominently there in the northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent. Slowly, when the iron implements were invented, so the people started moving eastwards. Okay, the movement eastwards helped them with the iron implements to clear the forest land, and the area of the eastern Indian subcontinent was drained by river Ganga and Brahmaputra, etc. So this Ganga river plains was very fertile, and that was the reason why the iron was used to clear the forest. And then many of the Mahajanpads, you will notice at a later time, as well as the Magad Empire, was a very successful empire which was in the center middle of the northern India. Okay, we'll see this in a later time, but just for the reference I am telling you this. Now the Rig Veda was composed by the people living along the Indus and its tributaries. Now then there is an evidence of pastoral populations in Deccan and further south. It means we are seeing the expansion of people to the various parts. New modes of disposal of dead, including the making of elaborate stone structure known as megaliths. Now megalith was a burial technique in which the dead was buried and a stone was placed above it. So this technique was called megaliths. It emerged in the central and south India from the first millennium. In case the dead were buried with a wide rich range of iron tools and weapons. Why iron tools were used, I have already told you. Okay, now important point to note, I would recommend you, before telling anything else, I would recommend you to just keep a copy and pen with you to note down the important points. Now the first important point here is about the megaliths. Megaliths were the burial technique, and these were prominent in which part? Central and South India. This you need to write it down just now. Okay, then from the 6th century BCE, there was evidence that there were other trends as well. Perhaps the most visible was the emergence of early states, empires, and kingdoms. This is all about the Mahajanpadas, then the Magad Empire, Mauryan Empire, and so on. Now, Directly we come to the Princep and Piyadasi. And what does this means? It means the Princep means James Princep. James Princep was the one who is entitled to discover the or derive the Ashokan inscriptions. Okay, James Princep for the first time derived or gave a meaning to the Ashoka's inscription. Now, Ashoka's inscriptions were engraved in different things. That was, there was pillar inscription, there was major inscriptions, there were stone inscriptions as well. So James Princep first derived it, and Piyadasi here is used for Ashoka. There were some of the inscription where Ashoka used the name of Dev Priyam Piyadasi, matlab devon ka pyara. It means he was there to serve the people. Okay, the James Princep, an officer in the mint of the East India Company, deciphered Brahmi and Kharosti, two script used in the earliest inscription and coins. And this Brahmi was the earliest used in inscription, and this Kharosti script was the used in the northwestern part of the country, Indian subcontinent, and this script was written left to right. Okay, this is an important point about the Kharosti script. Now, he found that the most of these mentioned a king referred to as Piyadasi, and this Piyadasi was used for Ashoka. This question has been asked in various state PSC also, and UPSC has also asked this question. Piyadasi is the word Piyadasi was used by which ruler? So the name of the king is Ashoka. There were a few inscriptions which also referred to the king Ashoka. Okay, so this inscription was totally about King Ashoka. Okay. Now, the next thing, nothing else is important here. Now, the important thing here to note in the inscriptions box is the earliest inscription were in Prakrit. So, the earliest inscription were written in the Prakrit in a name for ordinary languages, name for languages used by ordinary people. Matlab, Prakrit was a language that was language of the common people. Okay, language of the common people. So if a question comes in the exam in the ancient period, which of the following language was used, which of the following script was also known as the language of the common people, you will mark Prakrit as the right answer. And this is going to be the second point which you will note. Now there is reference to about the 16 Mahajanpadas. Now the Mahajanpada, what were the various Mahajanpadas? This phase included the formative stage of the states. Now formative, why I am saying it formative? Because it was the early stage when the states were created. Okay, now this Mahajanpada period is corroborated with a political change. Let's see what political change was there. There was emergence of the first empire, then centralizing impulses were seen. Okay, so these were some of the changes. Now it is an era that is associated with early states. I just told you right now, cities, and the growing use of iron and development of coinage. Okay, now before telling you about the Mahajanpadas, let me tell you about the 16 Mahajanpadas, and you can learn this trick. You can just learn this name of the 16 Mahajanpadas. So 16 Mahajanpadas were mentioned. Some of them is mentioned in Angakutta Nikaya. It is a book that belongs to the Buddhist culture. Okay, now regarding the letter A, there are three Mahajanpadas, namely Avanti, Anga, and Asmak. If we talk about C, the next word, then the Chedi Mahajanpad is there. If we talk about G, then Gandhar. If we talk about K, then four Mahajanpadas are there with the name K, that is Koshal, Kashi, Kuru, and Kamboj. If we talk about M, so three Mahajanpadas are there with the name M, that is Magad, Malla, and Matsya. Then P say Panchal, S for Sursena, and V belongs to the two Mahajanpads, that is Rijji and Vatsa. So if we see here, A के 3 हैं, K के 4 हैं, M के 3 हैं. सो ऑलरेडी 10 ऑफ द महाजनपदास आपको यहाँ से आ गए. The word A से 3 महाजनपदास are there, that is Avanti, Ang and Asmak. M से there are 4, that is M से there are 3, Magad, Malla and Matsya, and then K से there are 4, that is Koshal, Kashi, Kuru and Kamboj. Okay, so by this trick you can just learn and have some idea about the 16 Mahajanpadas. Now, the earliest Buddhist text I have already mentioned, that is Angakutra Nikaya mein 16 Mahajanpadas have been mentioned, and there is a Jain text which is called Bhagavati Sutra. Bhagavati Sutra mentions about these Mahajanpadas. Okay, Vajji, Magad, Koshal, Kuru, Panchal, Gandhara and Avanti occur frequently, as these were some of the major Mahajanpadas. Okay, most of the Mahajanpadas I've already explained during the features part that there was centralizing tendencies. How would there be centralizing tendency? If there was a king, and king directs everything to be done in a proper manner. So all the power lies in the hands of the king, and that is the reason why it is known as the centralizing authority. Okay, and all over the ancient period we will just discover this types of centralizing tendency. After the Mauryan period, this centralizing tendency was somewhat reduced. Okay, but still you will see very much centralizing powers. Now, most Mahajanpadas were ruled by kings. Some of them was known as Ganas and or Sanghas, where oligarchies, where power was shared by a number of men and often called Rajas. Now, Mahajanpad also were identified by two types. Now, some of them were oligarchies. Oligarchies के example है, there is Malla, Vajji. These were some of the examples of the oligarchies. Now, what happened is, in some Mahajanpadas there was directly a king, and in the oligarchies, what were the oligarchies? These were the places where the power was shared by a number of men known as Raja. Okay. Now, Vajji is an example I told you just now. Now, the Rajas probably control the resources such as land collectively. Now, each Mahajanpad has a capital city which was often fortified. So, 16 of the Mahajanpadas that I have mentioned right now, all of them there had their own capital. Now, what does the Janpada meant? The Janpada meant the land where Jan meant people, sets its foot or settles. Matlab, a place where the people settled is known as Janpad. And the word Janpad is used in both Prakrit as well as Sanskrit. Okay, so I hope this thing is clear to you now. Now, let us come to the next page, that is this. Now, these are the 16 Mahajanpadas which are here. Now, next thing to note here is the Brahmanas began composing Sanskrit texts which were known as Dharam Sutras, and these Dharam Sutras were the norms for the rulers who were ideally expected to be Kshatriyas. Now, the Brahmanas prepared a set of book which is known as Dharma Sutra, which were a rule book for the king, or how a king should rule. Okay. Now, gradually, some states acquired standing army and maintained a regular bureaucracy. Other continues to depend on militia, recruited more often than form of peasantry. So, the major states that we have seen, that is Magad, Koshal, Avanti, these were some of the major Mahajanpad. And the reason for them to be successful was, as they had various and many resources, they were able to collect resources both in the terms of land as well as army. They also had a regular standing armies, and this was the reason why one Mahajanpad, for example, Magad at a time overtook Koshal, Magad overtook Avanti, Magad overtook Kashi. So Magad was all powerful, and in later times it subsumed all the other Mahajanpadas, and at a later stage this whole Magad empire came to be known as the Mauryan Empire, which was established by Chandragupta Maurya. Okay. Now, I think the fact which I taught here is clear. Now let's move to the next thing. Now the first among the 16, matlab the major or the first Mahajanpada, strongest Mahajanpada was the Magad. Now between the 6th and the 4th century, Magad in present day Bihar became the most powerful Mahajanpad. Magad was a region where agriculture was specially productive, and why it was productive I have already told you. Ki after the Indus Valley civilization, the people started to move east. Why did they move east? Because they had iron implements and they can clearly cut the forest. So the northern India at that time, or still today also, it is drained by the Ganga river system. So the Ganga river system we know is very fertile as it contains alluvial soil. So as there is alluvial soil, the Ganga plains is one of the most fertile plain of the world. So there was a huge production of grains. So when these grains were produced, automatically you have something to sell. So if you are selling something, it becomes a matter of trade and you start to earn much. With trade, you can develop other resources such as your army, your standing army, your platoons, etc. So this was a major advantage for the Magad. Also, the second important thing, the capital of Magad, the first capital was Rajgir or Rajgriha as it was known at that time. So it was covered by 5 hills. Okay, at the 5 sides it was covered with the 5 hills. So this helped them naturally as there was lesser chance of invasion and this flourished. And at the later time there was a ruler which was named Udain. He set up his capital at the Patliputra. But the first capital of Magad Empire was Rajgir. At the later stage, Udain shifted the capital to Patliputra, which is today's Patna. Okay. I hope the thing is clear right now. Now, the Magad was the region where agriculture was specially productive. Beside iron mines were accessible and provided resources for tools, weapon. Elephant was also a component of army. So this point you'll know. You will note down that Magad, सबसे पहला point, was very productive. Second point you will add that the capital, which was at that time Rajgir, was surrounded by 5 hills. Okay. The third point, elephants was also there with the standing army. Also, the Ganga and its tributary provided a means of cheap and convenient communication. Okay. Now, the best known Magad kings were Bimbisar, Ajashatru, Mahapadmanand, and are best known for their minister. Now, initially Rajgah, which is Rajgir in Bihar, was the capital of Magad. Interestingly, the old name means the house of the king. Later, in the 4th century, the capital was shifted to Patna. This I already told you. And Udain was the ruler who shifted the capital. Now, next is. Now let us move now from getting a slight information about Magad to coming of the Mauryan Empire. Now, the growth of Magad culminated in emergence of the Mauryan Empire. The Chandragupta Maurya was who founded the empire. Now, Ashoka was the most famous ruler of early India, conquered Kaling, and this Kaling was conquered, and it is mentioned in the 13th pillar inscriptions of the Ashoka. Okay. Now, most Ashokan inscriptions were in Prakrit language, while those in the northwest were in Aramaic and Greek. Now, the Ashokan inscriptions were found all around the India. Now, the northwestern part, there was influence of Mesopotamia and Greek rulers. So, a Aramaic script was developed that has influence of Indian elements as well as the Greek elements. So, the northwestern India में generally Aramaic script was used. Mostly Prakrit inscription was there, and it was written in the Brahmi script. In the northwest there was Kharosti script. The Aramaic and Greek script were used in the inscriptions in Afghanistan. Okay, so this particular paragraph tells us about the diversity and about the different languages and the script which was used during the Ashokan period. Okay, so you can give this example of scripts, that the diversity in the Ashokan inscription was such that Aramic script, Kharosthi script, Brahmi script, etc., these were used. Now, finding out about the Mauryans, let's start with this paragraph. Now, where do we find the information? For example, I've already told you in the Indus Valley chapter that there are potteries, there are archaeological evidences which tells us about what was the nature of the polity, what was the nature of the society, economy, etc. and all. So for the Mauryans, there we find the archaeological sources. Now what are these archaeological sources? First of all, inscription लिखा तो है यहाँ पे. By inscription we get to know the information. Then we get to know the information from the pillar inscriptions of Ashoka. Then there are various travelers who travel abroad and who travel from abroad to visit that area. For example, the name is given here, Megasthenes, who came during the tenure of Chandragupta Maurya, and he wrote a book which name was Indica, which told us about the life during the Mauryan Empire. Okay. Now Megasthenes, a Greek ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya, which survives in fragments. An account was given by him, and this account was known as Indica. Also, the second thing from which we get the second written proof from which we get the information about the life during the modern period was Arthashastra. Arthashastra by Kautilya. Now Kautilya was known as the political guru of Chandragupta Maurya. Okay, I hope you are getting things right now. Now another source that is often used in the Arthashastra, parts of which were probably composed by Kautilya or Chanakya, traditionally believed to be the minister of Chandragupta. I hope you have understood this. Next is Ashoka was the first ruler who inscribed his message to his subjects on official stone surfaces, natural rocks as well as polished pillars. Now the Ashoka is also known for his Dhamma policy. Dhamma policy ka other name, if I tell you, was Universal Brotherhood. Okay, so he was a different kind of ruler and he patronized all the cultures. He was very keen to launch his own religion also. So this Dhamma was a policy of universal brotherhood. Actually, it is believed that Ashoka killed 99 of his brothers to just come on the throne. But it does not have any archaeological evidence. There is no archaeological evidence regarding this. The claim for the Ashoka that he killed 99 of his brothers, but there is a saying that he killed 99 of them to just come on the throne. But it is also a fact, and it is verified by the 13th pillar inscription of Ashoka, that after Kalinga he just said that he won't conquer any other part because there was large amount of bloodshed in that war. So then Ashoka just left out this policy to conquer India. Okay, so this policy of Dhamma it actually shows how Ashoka just transformed himself. Now, there were 5 major political centers in the empire, and this paragraph से एक CDS 2023 या 2024 में क्वेश्चन आया है, UPSC में भी यहाँ से क्वेश्चन आने वाला है, and I'm sure about it. 5 major political centers in the empire during the Mauryan period were the capital Patliputra and the provincial centers. So the name of the provincial centers you have to remember: Takshashila, Ujjaini, Toshali and Swarnagiri. All these get mentioned in the Ashokan inscription. So a question can be made here that which of the following was not a provincial center during the Mauryan period. यहाँ से 4 के 3 एग्जाम्पल्स आपको उठा लेंगे एंड देन फोर्थ जो होगा दे विल चेंज इट एंड दे विल आस्क द नॉट करेक्ट वन. Okay, so you need to know that the provincial center of during the modern time were Takshashila, Ujjaini, Toshali and Suvarnagiri. Okay, Now I hope the thing is clear then. Now let's move to the next part. Now this is the list of the various major rock edicts, minor rock edicts and pillar inscriptions of the Ashoka. Now I have underlined some of these. Now you need to know the places. UPSC has been asking 3 to 4 questions have been asked till now. Okay, so this chapter and this topic is very much favorite of UPSC. So Rumi Dei inscription, pillar inscription, is in Nepal, and it signifies the birth of Buddha, because Rumi Dei is in Lumbini, and Lumbini is the place where Buddha was born. Okay, now Rampurva, Lahoria Nandangarh, Lahoria Araj, these are in Bihar. Patliputra, Sasaram is in Bihar. And if I talk about Sarnath, Gujra, Kaushambi, Arhaura, these all are in UP. Now, Nigali Sagar is also in Nepal. So just remember this, Nigali Sagar and Rumi Dei, these both are in Nepal. Now, Sanchi is in MP, and this Sanchi Stup is nowhere related to Buddha. Okay, this point you need to remember. Now, Jaugada is in Odisha. Now, I think around in the year 2022, UPSC asked this question, and they gave Jaugada ke paas mein they gave MP. Is this option correct or not? So you need to know Jaugada is in Odisha. Okay, Girnar is in Gujarat. Bhabru etc. Bhabru inscription is in Rajasthan. Okay, now Maksi, Udegolam. Now there are some of the inscription where the personal name of the Ashoka, that is Ranyu Ashok, is mentioned. Now you need to know in which inscription this is mentioned. So there is a Kalsi inscription, Kalsi of Uttarakhand, Dehradun, Netur, Udegolam, Gujra inscription. So these all are the inscription where the word Ranyu Ashoka is mentioned. Okay, now see this Brahmagiri, Siddhapur etc. These all are in Karnataka only. So ये वाला एक बार नाम सारे इनके ध्यान में रख लेना, ठीक है. आई होप यू हैव गॉट माई पॉइंट कि ये मैप को कैसे करना है, ठीक है ना. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज both Taxila and Ujjaini are being situated on important long distance trade route. So this paragraph compromises the yes, it contains the information about the trade during the modern period. While Suvarnagiri, which was literally known as the Golden Mountain, was possibly important for tapping the gold mines of Karnataka. So there are Kolar mines in Karnataka. So this Suvarnagiri was there, lied on that route to tap the gold mines. Now the next thing is about the Megasthenes, who wrote Indica, and he wrote about the socio-political milieu of the modern period. Now Megasthenes mentions a committee with 6 subcommittees for coordinating military activities. Now one of these looked after the navy. Now you need to know that Megasthenes mentioned the 6 type of committees. So one was for navy, second one was for transport and provisions, third one was responsible for foot soldiers, fourth one was for horses, and fifth one was for chariots, and the sixth one was for the elephants. Okay, so this you need to know. ये पूछ सकते हैं क्वेश्चन इस तरह के, क्योंकि UPSC has been in the habit of directly asking questions from the NCERTs. Okay, लाइन्स उठा के वो क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं. So that is why I have underlined this, and this is going to help you pretty much. Okay, now Ashoka also tried to hold his empire by propagating Dhamma. Dhamma was the application, basic meaning of Dhamma was universal brotherhood. Okay, now he appointed special officers who were known as Dhamma Mahamatas, who were appointed to spread the message of Dhamma. Okay, now how important was the empire? Nothing is that much important in this page. Now I've already told you that this Megasthenes wrote Indica. Other than that, there was Arthashastra that was written by Kautilya. So this Arthashastra also lays down minute details of the administrative and military organization. Okay. Now, new notions of kingship. Now we have seen some of the things of the modern empire which is necessary, and now straight away we are moving to the south. The new kingdoms that emerged in the Deccan and further south, including the chiefdoms of the Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas. So these were the southern kingdom of Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas, out of which, if I talk about the Cholas empire also extended beyond the Indian boundaries, that is to Sri Lanka. Now the name of the Chola ruler who conquered Sri Lanka was Rajendra I. Okay, and the founder of the Chola Empire was Vijayala. So this two information you need to know. And the third most important points regarding Chola was that they were known as the father of local self government. It means the panchayati system which exists today, which was constitutionalized by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, which is the democracy at the grassroots level, was firstly propounded by the Cholas only. Okay. Then there were Cheras, and then there were Pandyas, which included the part of present-day Andhra Pradesh and Kerala. Okay. Now, let us see the other information as well. Now, many chiefs and kings, including the Satavahanas. Now, Satavahanas were the rulers which ruled in the Deccan part. Okay, in the western and central India. And the Shakas, these were a people of Central Asian origin who established a kingdom in the northwestern and western part of the subcontinent, derived revenue from long distance trade. Now, if you will see the map of the India, let us assume this is the northwestern part. So most of the foreign empire attacked from the northwest. Why? Because if you see the world map, so you can see there is part of Afghanistan, then Afghanistan ke upar there is part of Central Asia, then there is Russia here, and then parts of Europe start, and there is West Asia ka connect yahan pe. ठीक है, so it was easy. They penetrated into the northwestern side through Afghanistan, and most of the foreign empire, may it be Kushanas, may it be the Shakas, all of them, may it be Alexander, who also came till the river Jhelum Nadi pe a battle was fought with Porus, after which the Alexander's army felt tired, and then he decided to leave India. Otherwise, he would have wreaked havoc in whole of the northern India. So all of these attacked from the northwestern region only. So these Shakas people were also of the Central Asian origin, and they attacked the northwestern part of the India. Okay. Now there is mention of Silpadikaram, which was an epic which was written in Tamil. Now, if I talk about a grammar book which is very famous in Tamil, a Tamil grammar book which is name is Tolkapiyam. Okay? So the name you should know, Tolkapiyam and Silpadikaram. Okay? Now, the next title is of Divine Kings. Now, I already told you the northwestern India was attacked by various foreign entities. Now, these foreign entities merged with the local culture, and then they introduced many of the things. For example, turbans that we see, the turbans that are used in India was brought by the Kushanas only. Okay, a long coat, these were also brought by the Kushanas. So, the divine kingship, the divine titles which were earlier dedicated to God, which was related to God, these titles were then taken up by the kings itself. Now, one means of claiming high status was to identify with the variety of deities. This strategy is best exemplified by the Kushanas. Now, Kushanas were first one to issue the gold coins in large number. Okay, who ruled over vast kingdom extending from Central Asia to Northwest India. So obviously they belong from Central Asia, and they attacked the northwestern part of India. Now, the notions of kingship they wish to project are perhaps best evident in their coins and sculptures. Colossal statue of Kushana ruler have been found installed in a shrine at near Mathura. Many Kushana rulers also adopted the title Devaputra, that is son of God. Now, the first thing need to know about the Kushanas is that they belong from the Central Asia. Secondly, they held divine titles. Now, what divine titles? You can give example here of the Devaputra, that is son of God. Okay. Now, by 4th century, there is evidence of larger states, including Gupta Empire. Now, slowly, when local integration factors were there, then these high mounting divine titles were also taken up by the Indian kings, and this is evident during the Gupta age only. Now, many of them depended on the Samantas, men who maintained themselves through local resources, including control over land. They offered homage and provided military support to the rulers. Okay. Now, the best example of the Indian king having a divine title is seen in the Allahabad inscription. Now, this Allahabad inscription belongs to the Samudragupta, and it was written by his court poet Hari Sen. Now, it is also known as Prayag Prasasti. Prayag means Allahabad, and Prasasti means an account of their leader. And in this Allahabad inscription, there is also mention of Jahangir. Okay? At the later time, the instance has come, but there is also mention of Ashoka, Jahangir. These both rulers find their mention in the Allahabad, that is Prayag Prasasti. So, the Prayag Prasasti, that is known as Allahabad pillar inscription, was composed in Sanskrit by Harisena. Now, you need to know this language. Now, during the Gupta age, if I tell you, the Gupta age is known as the classical age. Classical age for culture. Why? Because Sanskrit developed very greatly during this Gupta Empire. You can see a lot of instances and lot of books and inscriptions that have been written in Sanskrit. So one of them is Prayag Prasasti, and it was composed in Sanskrit by Harisena, and it belonged to the court poet Samudragupta. And Samudragupta was also called the Napoleon of India. Okay, these extra things that I am telling you are of very much importance. Okay, the most powerful Gupta ruler. Now, this is an excerpt from the Prayag Prasasti, that he was without an antagonist on earth, by the overflowing of the multitude of many good qualities adorned by the hundred of good actions. See, praise for Samudragupta is being made in this. Now, the Purusha, if he is a Purusha, supreme being, so this is a praise of Samudragupta that we are seeing here. Okay. So now let's move ahead. I think that I am able to make you understand all this. Okay. I guess if not, you are not able to comprehend, do mention that in the comment section, so that I will know what necessary changes I have to make. Now, let's come again about the popular perceptions of the king, the change in countryside. Now, this is all about the books that were written. For example, the Jatakas and the Panchatantra. The Jataka related to the life of Buddha. Okay, the Jatakas were written in Pali around the middle of the first millennium, and these Jatakas contained information about the life of Buddha. ये note point में आप mark कर लेना. One of the story known as the Ganda Tindu Jataka described the plight of the subjects of a wicked king. Okay. Now, this Sudarshan Lake is very much important. This Sudarshan Lake is in Gujarat. Gujarat में भी कहाँ? Girnar, and it is an artificial reservoir. It was made by the Shaka ruler Rudradaman, and it was composed in there is an inscription, that is Junagadh inscription. Junagadh inscription of Rudradaman. It is the longest inscription written in chaste Sanskrit, and it was written by the ruler Rudradaman, and it finds a mention about the Sudarshan Lake. Now, what mention does it find? That the Sudarshan Lake was built by Chandragupta Maurya, the Mauryan king, the founder of the Mauryan Empire, and this was later repaired by Rudradaman. Also, a find of Chandragupta was there, a Gupta ruler who has played a significant role in the maintenance of the artificial lake, that is the Sudarshan lake. Okay, this is all the information is given about. Okay, so whatever I have told you in the explanation right now, you just note it down, and nothing else is important here. Okay, nothing else is important in this paragraph. Now agriculture was used, this is the but obvious, with time and with the changes in the technology and all, irrigation technique through wells and canals, etc., all of these, with the rise of the technological advancement, all of these advancement were in the agriculture was also made, and surplus, the agriculture went to the surplus side. Okay, now Manusmriti, you just need to know Manusmriti is written by Manu, and it is among the most controversial book which is written, and it is written in Sanskrit, and it was compiled between the 2nd century and 2nd century BC and 2nd century CE. Now let us see the differences in the rural society. It means that the divide between the rich and poor started. Now those who had larger lands were known as landowners, who were earlier given the responsibility to maintain an army, and army के साथ साथ they were given responsibility to collect the revenue. So all power and majority of the power lies with this landlords, major and big landlords, and these landlords were known by different name in different areas. For example, during the British time, these were known as zamindars. In the Bengal region, these were known as Ryoth. In the southern regions, polygars in the regions of Carnatic. Okay, so these big zamindars were assigned different responsibilities, and during a later time it emerged in a different way. Now, the term Gahapati was often used in Pali text to designate the second and the third categories. Okay, the large landholders as well as the village headmen, whose position was often hereditary, emerged as a powerful figure and offered exercise control over the cultivators. Now in Tamil literature, I told you now that different regions had different names. So in Tamil literature or in the Sangam text, the people, large landowners were known as Velelars, and plowmen were known as Uzavar, and then slaves were known as Adimai, and these differences were based on differential access to land, labor, and sometimes new technologies. Okay, so this is very easy and a pretty much clear concept now. I hope you have understood this. Okay, all of it mattered at that time was money, control over labors, and technological advancement. Now, who was a Gahapati? Gahapati was the owner, master, or the head of the household who exercised control over women, children, slave, and workers who shared a common residence. Okay, I hope this thing is also clear. Now, Harshcharita is a biography of Harshvardhan, the ruler of Kannauj, which was composed in Sanskrit by his court poet Ban Bhatt. Okay, now this you need to note it down because this is very important. Now, the next thing is the land grants and the new rural elites. Now, this is about the land grants. Land that was given for free to the Brahmanas. Firstly, to Brahmanas it was given, and then at a later time to temples it was also given, so that they impart education. Okay, so let us see what is given in this paragraph. From the early centuries of the Common Era, we find the grant of land being made, many of which were recorded in the inscription. Now, first of the land grants that were given were recorded on the copper plate inscription. So, you just write it down somewhere. Now, ये दिया ही है वैसे तो. These inscriptions were on stone, but mostly were on the copper plates. Most inscriptions were in Sanskrit. in some cases, and especially from the 7th century onward. Part of inscription was in Sanskrit while the rest was in the local language such as Tamil or Telugu. Now the Prabhavati Gupta, she was the daughter of Chandragupta II, was the daughter of one of the most important rulers in the earlier Indian history, Chandragupta II. She was married into the another important ruling families that were the Vakataka. Now यहाँ से just know a fact that गुप्ता रूलर्स हमने देख लिए, देयर वाज गुप्ता रूलर्स. देन इसके अलावा उनके कंटेम्पररी वेयर्स दी वकाताकास. ठीक है, जो भी हम रिलेशन यहाँ पे देख रहे हैं क्योंकि गुप्ता इस्टेब्लिश मैट्रीमोनियल अलायंस to strengthen their political control over the area. So, the marriage of Prabhavati Gupta with Vakataka was a sign of the matrimonial relations that were made for the political expansion. Okay. According to a Sanskrit legal text, women were not supposed to have independent access to resources such as land. However, the inscription indicated that Prabhavati had access to land, which then she granted. This is not much important. You just need to know that the Gupta had matrimonial alliances for the political expansion. And if the question is asked in mains, then you can give the example of Prabhavati Gupta that she was married to a Vakataka king. Some feel that the land grants were part of a strategy adopted by the ruling lineage to extend agriculture to the new areas. Others suggest that the land grants were indicative of the weakening political power as the kings were losing control over their samantas. ठीक है, this I have already told you. They tried to win allies by making grants. ठीक है, I hope this is clear. See, I am trying कि easily मैं explain कर पाऊँ जो भी यहाँ पे दिया है. Now, what is an agrahara? Agrahara was a land that was granted to a Brahmana who was usually exempted from paying land revenue or other dues to the king and was often given the right to collect these dues from the local people. Okay, so this was the meaning of Agrahara. Agrahara was a land that was granted to a Brahmana. Okay, now let us see the next. Now the thing comes to the towns and trade. History of Patliputra. It was the second capital of the Magad kingdom and first ruler to place the capital Patliputra was Udayan. Now Patliputra was also the capital of the king Ashoka. Okay. Now this is the name of the coast, western coast, that is okay. Here I am just write down some of the name of the ports that were on the western coast. ठीक है, these can be asked. Tonda, Mushiri, Nelisanda, Puhar. This is given. These are the some of the ports that were there during the ancient period. Okay. Now Pohar was a port, whereas cities like Mathura were the centers of commercial, cultural and political activities. We have seen that the kings and the ruling elites lived in the fortified cities. Now what were the urban elements? What were about the elites and craftsperson? So fine pottery bowls and dishes with glossy finish known as northern black polished ware, probably used by the. Now let me tell you a thing. If I talk about the Indus Valley civilization, ये भी point out, note down कर लेना. ठीक है, there was prevalence of red and black ware. Okay, if I talk about the Vedic age, then during the Vedic age there was grey ware pottery. Now if I talk about the Mahajanpada period, we are now seeing northern black polished ware. Okay, so this is the different type of potteries through which we can differentiate between the different periods. Okay, this is very important. Just write it down. I am just recommending you to just write it down in your notes, and when you will revise and when you will find a question directly or indirectly, you are going to thank me that this is help. This has helped. It is nowhere given in the NCERTs. I have studied it a lot, and that is why I am telling you with my experience only. So just write it down, whatever I have told you just right now. Now this northern black polished ware, obviously it is a polished ware, so it was probably used by the rich people, and the ornament, tools, weapon, vessel, figurines made of wide range of material, gold, silver, copper, bronze, ivory, glass and shell, etc., terracotta were the materials that were used by the elite people. Okay, now A goldsmith was known as the Sovanika at that time. So this question can be asked. During the ancient time, the term Sovanika was used for, so it was used for goldsmith. That is why I've underlined it here. So just write it down in your notes. Now you just need to know Dhandya Kantak is in Andhra Pradesh, Sopara is in Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, not Gujarat but Maharashtra, and then this Chandraketugarh is in West Bengal, Shishupalgarh is in Odisha. The name of the places you need to know. Okay. Now the responsive, as we have seen trade, we have seen what were the different commodities that were used and produced. Now to control the trade, there were guilds or shrenis. That was the organization of the craft producer and merchants. And these guilds were probably procured raw material, regulated production, and marketed the finished product. It is likely that the craftsperson used a range of iron tools to meet the growing demands of the urban elites. Okay, now the Malabar coast, about the Malabar coast, there is mention in the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Now if we talk about the trade in the subcontinent and beyond, matlab trade relations of India and other countries, so they were highly successful merchants designated as Massatuvan. Just underline this, that the Massatuvan was the type of merchants in Tamil, and Sethis and Satavahanas in Prakrit. A wide range of goods were carried from one place to another. Salt, grain, cloth, metal ores, finished products, stone, timber, etc. Spices, especially pepper, were in high demand in the Roman Empire, as were the textile and medicinal plants, and these were all transported across the Arabian Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. Now, if we talk about the coins and kings, then we find mention that to some extent exchanges were facilitated by introduction of the coinage. Now, these punch marked coins were introduced during the modern period. Okay, and these punch marked coins were made up of silver and copper. So a question can be asked here कि which of the following statement is true about punch marked coins. वहाँ पे ये ऑप्शन में आपको दे देंगे, they were made up of gold, silver and copper. And this state PSC or the UPSC is going to follow these NCERT, but यहाँ पे clearly लिखा है it is made up of silver and copper. So gold वहाँ पे mention है, gold गलत हो जाएगा. And this is what the UPSC checks, that कि आपने NCERTs को पढ़ा है या नहीं पढ़ा है. ठीक है. So the punch marked coins were made up of gold and silver and were amongst the earliest to be minted and used. So the first coins to be used in the Indian subcontinent were the punch marked coins. Now many of the information is given about the punch marked coins. You have to know that as well. Now numismatics. What is numismatics? It is the study of coins. Now the symbols on the punch marked coins with specific ruling dynasties including the Maurya suggest that they were issued by king. So these punch marked coins were issued by the centralizing authority, that was king. It is also likely that merchants, bankers and townspeople issued some of these coins. It means यहाँ पे B statement वो ऐसे दे सकता है क्वेश्चन में regarding the punch marked coins, that the punch marked coins were only issued by the king. But this is wrong. They were also issued by the merchants, bankers and townspeople. ठीक है. The first coin to bear the name and images of the rulers were issued by the Indo-Greeks. This is an important fact. Write it down. And who established control over the northwestern part of the subcontinent? Now, Kushanas, as we have read, issued the largest hoard of gold coins, first gold coins in the country. So largest number of gold coins were issued by the Kushanas. And if I talk about the dinar was a gold coin that was issued by the Guptas. Okay, यहाँ तक मेरे हिसाब से आपको क्लियर हो गया होगा. Now let us see the next thing. The next topic is about the kings, farmers and the towns. Now, the widespread use of gold coin indicate the enormous value of the transaction that were taking place. We have now seen that the gold coins were prominently used by the Kushans. The largest number of the gold coins were issued by the Kushans, whereas if we talk about the Gupta era, then dinars were the gold coin that were issued by the Gupta Empire. Now, the coins were also issued by the tribal republics such as that of the Yodhyas of Punjab and Haryana. Some of the most spectacular gold coins were issued by the Gupta rulers. The earliest issues are remarkable for their purity. It means that the coins that were issued during the Gupta period were known for their purity. These coins facilitated long distance transaction from which kings also benefited. Okay, from the 6th century CE, the finds of gold coin taper off. It means we do not find such gold coins after the 6th century CE. Okay, now the next point here is deciphering Brahmi. Brahmi was the script, the earliest script that was used. Okay, the most scripts used to write modern Indian languages are derived from the Brahmi, the script that is most used in the Ashokan inscription. Now, who deciphered Brahmi? It was James Prinsep. James Prinsep who deciphered this Brahmi script. It was James Prinsep who deciphered it in 1838. Now, how Kharosthi was read? So it was written read from left to right. The Kharosthi script used in the inscription in the northwest, and this Kharosthi script was used in the Ashokan's inscriptions. Okay. Now, with Prinsep identifying the language of Kharosthi inscription as Prakrit, it became possible to read longer inscriptions as well. Okay. Now, who were the Pati Vedakas? Pati Vedakas were the spies that reported about the affairs of the people at all times, anywhere. Whether the Pati Devkas were those spies that reported to the Ashoka every time. Okay. Now, what are the historical evidences from the inscription? The name of the rural Ashoka, Devanam Piya or Piyadasi, that is pleasant to this we have already studied. So nothing more is important here. Now, what are the limitations of the inscription evidence? So inscriptions की क्या evidence हो सकती है? हो सकता है the inscription thing that are marks that are marked on the inscription are not properly engraved. हो सकता है this inscription are given on the wood and wood over the time decomposes. Inscription, the books that were written at that time, the autobiographies that were written at that time. So paper generally tends to decompose after a long time. So these are only the limitations of the inscription. No? Let us study. There are limits to the what epigraphy can reveal. Letters are very faintly engraved, damaged, or letters are missing. Besides, it is not easy to be sure about the exact meaning of the word used. So this is all. So this is also not important. So with this we have finished the chapter. So let us see here the chronology. That is 327 there was invasion of Alexander of Macedonia. Then 321 BCE accession of Chandragupta Maurya by defeating the Nanda king Dhananand. So Dhananand was defeated by Chandragupta Maurya, and Chandragupta Maurya was the founder of the Mauryan Empire. Now, if we talk about Ashoka, Ashoka's Dhamma policy is very much important. Other than that, Ashoka was the most powerful king, and he had capital at Patliputra. Then 78 Kanishk was a Kushan king. All these points are very important, so you need to write down these points. Okay. Also during Kanishk, 4th Buddhist council was held at Kundalvan. Now this Kundalvan is in Kashmir. Now, second important thing regarding the 4th Buddhist council, that is it was presided by Vasumitra. Now, what happened in the 4th Buddhist council was there was a proper division between the Mahayana sect and the Hinayan sect. So in the Buddhist terminology, the Mahayana sect and the Hinayan sect were divided during the 4th Buddhist council that was held during the reign of Kanishk. Okay, then there is Harshvardhan, whose official poet was Banbhat, and he was the king of Kannauj. Chinese pilgrim Yun Sang visited during Harshvardhan. And if I talk about Fa Hian, so Fa Hian visited during Chandragupta II. Now, if I talk about Chandragupta Maurya, Megasthenes visited during his tenure. So these are some of the important travelers during this time. So with this, we have finished this chapter. You can like the video if you have watched the video till the end, or you can comment down and tell me the suggestions or all I can improve in this video, the upcoming video what all I can improve. Till then, keep watching. Thank you for watching the channel.